Thanks for tuning in to your favorite content creator, UTV. To find out more, follow us on our social media platforms: YouTube UTV124, Facebook UTV124, Instagram UTV124, Twitch UTV124, TikTok UTV_124, and Flow TV channel 124. Remember, UTV, TV for you.
The opinions expressed on this TV program by the host, co-host, guest, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions and responsibility of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of UTV or its affiliates.
Hello and welcome. This is the Revolution. Thank you for joining UTV, whether you're checking us out through channel 124 on Flow, whether you're listening on Twitch, on TikTok, on Twitter, on Instagram, whether you're listening on YouTube, whether you're listening on Facebook. Facebook family, how are you doing this afternoon? I hope a lot of UWP hacks come through. The more common ground we can find before we lose it all, the better. For those of you locked in on Hits Radio, 92.1 in the north, 91.1 in the south FM. Shout outs to the folks down in Soufrière, particularly Barron's Drive. Thank you so much for the warm hospitality. It was fun, and the best part is that it was real. The truth is undeniable when it comes from the people themselves. Nobody can tell you spun this, that, or the other. They spoke their truth, they know what they feel, and you always learn something on the ground that you could have never learned if you were not there. Little insights, little comments, people speaking their truths. Folks, it is 5 days before the elections. It is the 21st of July 2021. 5 days before elections, and all I can say is I hope you are ready. I hope you are resolved, because you must protect your mind and your thoughts. And the other thing we have to do is to be vigilant. That is the price of democracy. People like Shasnik, Guy, and the rest that are in there, what they feel they cannot win, they will spend all of your money to pay people to come from overseas to inveigle you while they try to steal it. These guys, it's about win by any means necessary. And if you're going to win by any means necessary, it immediately infers cheating. It means that you will go outside the boundaries of what should be a free and fair democracy based on our civil rights and civil liberties. But you see right now, yesterday, they're breaking up sidewalks all over. You see them breaking up good sidewalks, and even if they had to be changed, why would you want to change them now in Soufrière? All by court side there. Why? Because when they issue the contracts, they give the guys some money, and they tell them, if you vote for us, you get the other half. But I'm telling all those who are getting the contracts through Herod, particularly the young people who may not know, as long as you have a contract, it must be and will be honored. Kenny Anthony and Philip J. Pierre and the Labour administration, even with all what went on under Guy Joseph, all right, given 50 direct awards in the last month before elections, including one to a man by the name John Doe, telephone number 4500000, right? Including that, the fact is, once you have your ID and you have your paperwork in order, you will be paid. So don't worry about them telling you that the only way you will get paid the balance is if you vote for UWP. No. Because the government transcends, the state transcends UWP and Labour Party. There must be continuity in certain things. Now, that said, folks, as we speak, Dominic Fede has literally threatened the livelihoods of those who are on the waterfront in what is Ansari Fish Fry, because they are destroying the vendors arcade. If you're going to go and you're going to start a project, start it well in advance. But by knocking it down now, you are putting the people in fear. You are giving the vendors of ancillary canneries, you're putting them in a state of fear that, oh, if they don't vote for you, they will not get it rebuilt or get whatever it is that's to be built. But you see, y'all are the ones that extol the Belrose Chasney doctrine of victimization. The Labour Party has proven, like other governments before on both sides until Chasney weaponized it, that they govern no matter who is there. They don't just stop projects. You heard it said in the manifesto presentation by the Labour Party. They will not just summarily stop projects just because. There must be just cause, fraud, or some kind of stuff like what the crap that people like Fresh Start are doing and Thief Money Mangal for things to be questioned and investigated. But the fact of the matter is that you cannot tell me Dominic Fede cares about the people when he had a hospital, a health center, wellness center. The funding was there since May 2016. You come in June 6, 2016. You wait 4 years, even though the money was already there from NIC. Cabot get NIC money before the people of Ansari. Then you go in and build a nice facility, but you go and sink it 2 feet lower than what it was in the old health center in a floodplain area. You now put in wall on top of wall in terms of the drainage problems in Ancillary. And if it wasn't for the levies put in by the Kenny Anthony administration, whole chupabo. But that's not the issue. The issue is right now, it is to instill fear and anger, because that's Cambridge Analytica's tactics, 101 Cambridge Analytica's tactics. Fear and anger are their stock in trade. Yo pair, mwe fache. And you notice, folks, whenever I deal with Cambridge Analytica, Facebook flags it. It is blocked. You cannot get the videos. You know why? Because of all of the scandals that continue to plague Facebook with regards to Cambridge Analytica and their weaponized data mining techniques. People that were involved in training the British Special Services, the Special Services of the United States, of Canada, conducting wars, military interrogation techniques. These people, psychological warfare, torture techniques that have been put into politics. But they don't want to talk about that. So right now, after you have what is happening in Soufrière, destruction of the sidewalks, just so that Herod can, in pure bribery and political fashion, give people contracts so that they will vote for him, believing, and it's not true, that if they vote against Herod, that they will not get paid the balance of whatever, and giving last-minute contracts in attempts to buy votes. And they're doing the same thing by destroying the ancillary waterfront vending area as we speak. I hope the media goes down there and gets first-hand footage of it so they can see just how much of a nefarious prick Fede is. Now, all of this is happening. Why? Because the UWP's campaign has fallen flat. Now, before I go anywhere any further, don't forget, tomorrow we'll be coming to you live. Again, we are going out on the ground. This time we are going to be in Grosile. So please make your way. Call us. We'll post out. Come, speak your truth. I don't care whether UWP, Labour, no party, small businessmen, big business people, residents of affected areas, people who are dealing with whether it's agriculture, whether it's hairdressing, whatever it is. It could be music. You can be a creative, or you can be a farmer, you can be a fisher, you can be a taxi driver, whoever it is. Come and speak your truth tomorrow, as we have Trisha in the morning from 11 to 12 and myself from 12 to 2. UTV will be live from Grosile, so make sure to let your voice be heard. We have 5 days before elections, but we will be doing it tomorrow live again, just like we did in Soufrière, just like we did in Dennery South, just like we did in Ancillary. Same thing we're going to be doing in Grosile. Now, folks, the UWP campaign is flat, right? Limp, listless, pathetic. It is some of the worst PR that I've seen since 2014, when Chasney was just figuring out how to mispronounce words in a way that could be carried in sound bites. The fact of the matter is that the 5 for 5 is not only a flop, but whoever proposed 5 for 5 should not only be fired, but they should be made to repay. I don't know if it's Peter Wickhead or whether it is the rest of Cambridge Analytica that flubbed when it came to the 5 for 5. And I'll tell you why. Because the principle that Donald Trump and the Republicans have is wrong and strong no matter what. Wrong and strong, even in the face of defeat. And it still fools people with house slave mentalities, which obviously y'all are fomenting with Sky FM. But when Shasney and them admitted that they have been seeing people suffering all this time and choosing to ignore them, big mistake. Tipping point stuff. Yes, Malcolm Gladwell, tipping point stuff. But what's even worse is they went and decided to have a manifesto presentation. Let me tell you something. Nobody has given the Labour Party more licks than me for people who perceive me to be a Labour Party surrogate. And yet still, I can tell you that the best piece of PR that I've seen come out of the Labour Party was the manifesto presentation. Everybody spoke well. Nobody spoke too long. The whole thing is only 35 minutes. Nobody was droning on and on. People, if they wanted more information, could get more information. Exactly what the doctor ordered, exactly what St. Lucians needed to see. Give you an idea of the plans, and if you want more information, well filmed, great speeches, well presented, bravo, bravo. I give that a 9.5 out of 10. And for me, I don't get to even 9 most times. But sadly, the UWP, whereas once again, they tricked people into watching them, they gave another long droning performance of people like Sarah and Izzy Puel, you know, and all the rest of these people there, you know, and it was limp, it was listless, it was flat, it looked disorganized. When Spider comes on, you don't know if it's like he has moss growing on his skin because they have so much yellow and green that it almost looked like the tint is off. And what's even worse, it was supposed to be a coming out party for Spider, and they set up with what looked like Tom T's tent in front of Tom T's area in Beausejour. The Sun and all of them call it Spider City, and they right to call it Spider City because it is literally in front of the land that Spider took CDP money, which is the only money that he took from CDP in the 4 years to do one road, which was to his own private property, and Tom T did the concrete works. No problem with Tom T doing the concrete works, but it's just to show you how much these guys are shameless and they do not care at all. You don't do no roads for 4 years. You're taking CDP money to do the roads to your home. There are about 5 homes that are getting the road totally to their home, but all where you don't even have houses, you have paved inside of there. Right? I wish, in fact, I'll go and film it again this afternoon so I can show you all tomorrow again when we go live in terms of Groseley. But they had it. And for me, I'm sorry. It just looked like, I don't know, what can I compare it to? Death announcements.
So what I would like to do tonight is to present each of the candidates with their own copy of the manifesto.
In this telecast, we regret to announce
Miss Sarah Bobra.
may she rest in peace. It is with profound sadness that we announce
Edmund Estefan in Denver South.
may he rest in peace. Sadly, we announce the arrangements for our beloved
Dominic Fede,
affectionately known as
It's time to go.
may he rest easy. It is with profound sadness that we announce our beloved
Leonard Spider,
Montoot will be held at the Groseley Cemetery. Your comforting expressions of sympathy will always be remembered with deep gratitude. Thank you from all of us.
Now, folks, no matter how bad it looks on their side, no matter how pathetic and desperate they are with all that they are going through, the loss of Stephenson King and other support peeling off by the day because there are thousands, tens of thousands of St. Lucians who do not support the Labour Party and have the freedom and the right to support whoever they want and support the United Workers' Party, but recognize that this is not the United Workers' Party. The United Workers' Party would have never allowed the cancer of Guy Joseph and Alan Chasney to subsume it in a corruption culture that is being extolled to the exclusion of the very St. Lucian people who are suffering and who put them in there and pay their salaries and are watching them steal money hand over fist and fatten the friends, family, and foreigners. But folks, Shasta and them not just going to stay there and lose. You think these guys are going to do all these nefarious things and they're just going to stay there and say, oh, well, it looks like we're losing, so let's just chill out and let's just let us float. Let's just sink, you know. No, they're pulling out all the stops with your taxpayers' money, trying to buy people left, right, and center. They're trying to use all kinds of nefarious tactics. And Richard Frederick is exposing them, and I will too.
The United Workers' Party are making every effort to steal the elections. And there is heavy concentration on Castries Central. I know there are Arabians here. I know there are Russians here. I know there are Jamaicans here. I know there are persons from Cambridge Analytica here. I know there were persons from the Republican Party in the US here. One of them left the day before, I think. But they are making every effort to steal the elections. Right now, don't ask me why, I don't know. It leaves a lot to the imagination. But they are asking a lot of people, or paying people rather. They are paying key people in key areas to get ID cards for them and to give them the registration number of the ID cards. Quite a number of people have called me and they've indicated that, look, they have done it in an unsuspecting way, and it is because those persons will be receiving monies for supplying the information. Folks, this is scary, and it is so scary that you wonder whether true democracy will prevail at the end of the day. What I intend to do is to instruct my agents to ensure, one, that each and every ballot box is empty at the point where voting commences. Two, keep a running tally of every voter, so that if 900 persons came into the polling station, there should be no more than 900 ballots in the boxes combined. And thirdly, to ensure that everyone that presents his or her ID is permitted to vote. So in that way, there would be no duplication of voting. Once again, all boxes we shall ensure are empty. We shall ensure that we keep a running tally of voters so that each agent would know we had 1,000 voters in that polling station for that day, and there ought to be 1,000 ballot papers. And thirdly, each and every person who presents their valid ID is permitted to vote. We need to ensure, folks, that our wishes come to fruition at the end of this general election. Watch it. They are trying desperately to steal it.
Don't let anybody tell you paranoid. Be paranoid, because think about it. I keep telling you, trust is not honesty, although we conflate it that way. Trust is an accurate assessment of somebody's character. You know the kind of depraved characters that are in this cabinet. You know that after they have stolen so much and taken so much from you, that the reason they are capable of doing it and continue to do it is because they are depraved. And you who have nothing, they have never shown mercy. They continue to take and take and take. So what about that does not tell you that they are very capable of doing a lot of these things? So when you see something, you hear something, let me know. I don't know who in the terms of police to let know, but let your MPs know. Put it out in the media. Let people know what's going on. Right now, folks, and I am saying this to not only the electoral department, I'm saying that to all patriotic St. Lucians. Let me avail you of a racket that they have right now. They are attempting to buy people, and what they're doing is, by law, when you go into the voting booth, you're supposed to, when you come into the room, you're supposed to surrender your cell phone. This government is spending all kinds of money. The UWP is spending all kinds of money to buy people's cell phones. You have all kinds of all branded cell phones like Shuttle and all kinds of stuff, and they're giving people cell phones that can take photos. And what they're doing is they're going to go, if they are buying people, they're going to go, and you have 2 cell phones. So you give up the 1 cell phone, you put it on the desk or whatever. You're not being searched, but you should be, and that's what has to happen. They need to search people before they vote so that they do not have the second cell phone hidden in their socks, hidden in their pants, whatever, because they are buying, the UWP is buying people's cell phones so that when they go to vote, in order to collect the balance of the money that they are contracting people for, what they're doing is they're giving them the cell phone. They will give up their regular cell phone. It will sit on the desk by the electoral officer. They will go in the booth. They will take photos of themselves voting, and then they will get paid the balance. And what they have done is they have starved the people so much that people who genuinely do not even want to vote for them, right, are almost being forced, because when you give people no economic stimulus, you force their businesses to close, you marginalize them and you victimize them. Those who won't take the open contract, the bounty grabber from Fede and others, and go and put on the yellow shirt, that's how they're trying to get them now. This is a massive campaign, just like you all have seen. Just like you all have seen them telling you there's competition to win phones, trip to Barbados, win this, win cash prizes. You having Sound Clash, Auntie Gail having Sound Clash, so you're winning cash prizes, Soccerama so you can win cash prizes. The same government that was paying people to beat people for going on playing fields, now they're having cash prizes, and we all know it's only 12% of the population has been vaccinated. Yeah, they just don't care. They just don't care. Shasney never did care, and you knew that. And now, in transactional politics, we have reached the end game, and it is bare, naked, and it is ugly. It is disgusting. But that is what Cambridge Analytica does. And I remind you that in 2016, we got all kinds of recycled store-bought things that play with the mind. 1.5 to stay alive, climate change, a global initiative, became 5 to stay alive. The UWP manifesto for the benefit of us all, that's from the NIC, from the benefit, it's all for the benefit of Bobble. That's all they changed it to, right? That's what they did. Even the part where they said, where you heard Trump saying, make America great again. It was piloted in St. Lucia. Shasney said it a week before the first time Trump ever did. You don't believe me, but now you know it's there.
Your assessment, is Facebook more or less secure than it was in 2016?
Well, I would hope that it's more secure. I think there's a more fundamental question, which is, why are we entrusting a private company with the role of being a referee of speech in political discourse, and also, the protector of the security of, a really major part of elections and our democratic process? Facebook has a history of, hiding and obfuscating and delaying and not being upfront with people about the problems that it knew about and perhaps still knows about, on its platform. And my concern is that, if we just hope and trust that Mark Zuckerberg is going to do the right thing, we're putting all of our eggs in one basket. And, even if a company like Cambridge Analytica no longer exists, many of the same people work at the Trump campaign, and the capabilities didn't disappear. You are vulnerable to being manipulated because there is an imbalance in information. You can't properly assess, the meaning and context of the things that you're being told because you don't know the underlying motivation or the underlying information that's powering that, right? If Facebook wasn't an effective tool for getting people to do things, whether it's to buy things or vote or whatever, it wouldn't be a multi-billion-dollar company. I have seen personally how powerful, ad targeting can be on that platform, and more broadly what you're able to do when you can capture, people on that platform and cultivate a manipulative relationship with them. So, if people are skeptical. That's fine. They're entitled to be. But, surely if it's something as important as our democracy, the precautionary principle should, reign true, I think. And that even if you're a skeptic, the potential consequences for the erosion of our democracy is so serious that nonetheless we should take seriously some of the concerns that people have.
Have a look at these photos. Tell me who you identify in them. Yes. Could you scroll up a bit, please? Yes. Just go on. Go on. Okay. Okay. There is one where Sylvanus Fontenot is in there. Al Landers is in there. Boris Johnson is in there. And representatives of Cambridge Analytica are in there. Folks, I did not take those pictures. I did not take them. You all cannot say I lie. And that is what is happening. Those devious techniques.
In order to understand their individual fears.
So when they expose Cambridge Analytica, and Cambridge Analytica says, who paid who for what?
Prime Minister Alan Chasney, while acknowledging the international fallout, confirmed SCL's involvement.
Our party previously used SCL, which is a political firm.
Cambridge Analytica.
Economics has no conscience. That's what I keep saying to everybody. Colonialization had a conscience in that ultimately there was a person making the decision. Economics has no conscience.
A massa mentality.
That's what I keep saying to everybody. Colonialization had a conscience in that ultimately there was a person making the decision. Colonialization had a conscience.
A massa mentality.
Yeah, you can be a colonial master in a country. Sorry, not to sound flippant about it, but it felt very much like a privatized colonizing operation.
Because we're in a tropical destination, and with the heat, that the coronavirus is not going to spread as fast.
The virus. They're working hard. Looks like by April, in theory, when it gets a little warmer, it miraculously goes away.
And if that is the case, and we can say that we are a corona-free region, then there can be a big win. And we can say that we are a corona-free region, then there can be a big win.
Psychographics. That is an understanding of your personality, because it's personality that drives behavior, and behavior that obviously influences how you vote.
Alan Chasney is Donald Trump. Well, let me tell you something. One thing I know about Donald Trump, he knows how to make a deal.
But Alan Chasney and United Workers' Party, with this team of men and women, we are committed to the cause of making St. Lucia great again.
We are going to make America great again.
Now, these guys did not come to St. Lucia to write a flowery speech for Chasney. They came here so that they can invent, because truth and lies are just tools of the trade for them. They're like lawyers. They don't care. They're not amoral. These are people, like I said, that went from conducting military grade, they call it communications techniques, but that is interrogation, mind bending. They worked with the SAS in the UK. They worked with the Canadian Mounted Police. They were involved in the Iraq War. They were involved in countries in Africa, Angola, Darfur, all of these places. You're talking about helping dictators. You're talking about Trump. You're talking about Boris Johnson. You're talking about the what's his name, Steve Bannon, and all these people, the Republican right there that have weaponized communications. You see that Sky FM thing there? You see that alternate reality where people can stay there and make all these bigoted statements and do all the rest of that, fomenting hatred? You don't think we're going to have, if that stays in the current format, you don't think we're going to end up with the same type of Trump insurrectionists? But it's already there. They're the ones that are weaponizing people to go and drive their vehicles to plow through crowds. You don't see a tone of anger and animosity towards St. Lucians who do not support the United Workers' Party, both from their surrogates like Dr. Secretion and Ring the Bell and the others, all the way through to Shasney and them. There's an animosity in what they're doing. That's not an accident. Fear and anger, remember that. So today, when you see Operation Vegleo comes out and Shasney and them come and say the DPP is going to make a statement and Shasney and them going to say all of a sudden that all of the members of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force implicated in Operation Restore Confidence have been exonerated. Don't be surprised. The same police that they let suffer for how many years? For the full 5 years, 5 days before elections, they're going to come and try and vegle people with that. And there will be more dirty tricks. Oh, they'll come and they'll say that Hilaire and Philip Pierre were murdering people when they were in their 20s. And this, that, and the other. That one have a dead body in his freezer. You'll hear it all. And you have to remember, only you, look, people can tell you lies, but nobody can tell you your truth. You know what you've experienced. You know what you've seen. You know what the inside of your fridge looks like right now. You know the bills that you cannot pay. You know how it felt to lose your business under this government. You know how it feels to not be able to work right now in the entertainment sector, except if you're going to jump on Sarah truck one day and then on Kenson truck by afternoon, and then you're playing music and you're having a blocko behind somebody's motorcade, but yet at the same time you cannot go and have a beach bash. You are the one who is in the Ministry of Health there. You are the one that is a farmer right now who feels it, knows it, getting inputs that's so expired. The Taiwanese were giving it and Ezekiel made you buy it and then you put it on your soil and when the rain falls it coats it like it's rubber. You are the one that knows in fisheries what it is that you suffered under Edmund Estefan, under Dominic Fede. You are the ones that know under Bradley Felix that Shasney privatized fisheries for his father. You are the ones that know what it is to be in the middle of a storm and not know where to turn because you're getting stupid voice notes on WhatsApp from the Bofest man and all the rest of these operatives when you needed a state radio. You needed some place that you could turn to. And if it wasn't for people like Yadi and Jahim, you would not know what was going on in St. Lucia during a storm because everybody at NTN at their home. You are the one who knows it. But right now the mind benders are here. And I told you they were here. They took 6 villas at Cotton Bay and they have a war room there. And these guys are operating. And simple proof, you know. You need proof? Why would you have rented vehicles with Spider and other UWP paraphernalia on it? I had to go over to Cotton Bay 3 times for me to make sure that I got them once I found out where they were. Just so that you could see for yourself, because they say, oh, we're just making up this, that, and the other. Folks, this is very real. And I'll expose the ulterior motive. It's always the same, you know. Money. Money and power. That's what it's about. And right now they are farming out all the dirty tricks, because why would you have 6 Republicans, you have 4 Cambridge Analytica specialists on top of that, you have people like Peter Wickhead, you have all these people here, right, trying to vegle people. You trying and have competition, win a trip to Barbados, win cell phone, cash prizes, that and the other. These people are trying to do whatever they can to steal elections. So you must be aware of all the dirty tricks.
Wendy, I just got a call from somebody in Miku. They're taking people off the list of people to work. And they had already called the electoral office to make that report. But apparently the lady Brenda Paul that they put as the presiding officer, she is calling the shots, but then her alliances are clearly with the UWP candidate. As much as she's presiding over the whole thing and ensuring everything is in order, she's still the same person calling people to come to UWP meetings on behalf of the candidate. Isn't that a conflict of interest? She's not supposed to be doing those things? And then I'm hearing people saying they're calling shows saying that they have the same situation in other districts. So what is going on? Apparently they're ensuring that only the 2 agents in the room that labor is entitled to are the only ones working, and anybody else who are supposed to work, they're ensuring that they're only UWP supporters. This is getting scarier by the minute, and today is just Wednesday.
So what's the motivation for all of these vultures that have descended onto St. Lucia? Well, Chasney is already paying them with money that he's taken from us. But on top of that, there's a bigger prize, a much bigger prize. And nobody wants to ask the burning question anymore. We've been beaten into submission. Why is it that CIP money, citizenships that are being sold, passports that are being sold, why is it that in St. Kitts they can show you the projects that they've done, capital works, double pay for public servants, Christmas bonuses, roads, bridges, everything, Dominica's housing, fire stations, an entire hospital, all kinds of stuff, roads, again, bridges, all kinds of hurricane relief. Dominica does not even have an agriculture industry anymore. They don't even export bananas to any measure, right? Everything is CIP, but you can see where the money is going. But for us, where is our CIP money?
Tell me one project.
Mr. Speaker, as we work on building a new St. Lucia, we must be open-minded. We must be prepared to examine the non-traditional ways of attracting foreign investment to supplement domestic investment activities. It is from this perspective that we have accepted the Citizenship by Investment program as a viable means of attracting foreign investment. And Mr. Speaker, we're not alone in that persuasion. Apart from the 5 OECS countries which have CIP programs, Austria, the United Kingdom, the Netherlands, Greece, Malta, Turkey, to name a few, all have similar programs. Mr. Speaker, since its commencement, the CIP has contributed EC $131 million to this country. At a time of dwindling resources and grant funding and even increasing demand on government services, government will leverage the demand for our passports as a means of attracting foreign investment into St. Lucia.
Show me a project in this country, just one, that the government has used CIP monies to fund.
But I'm a realist, and I think one of the things that haunts the CIP program in all the islands is a lack of transparency.
Well, it's a slush fund, and that's what it's become.
So,
like so many things, it's become a slush
fund. We're selling
fund.
passports and putting it in that fund and spending it. But don't call it a citizen investment program, because there's the lack of transparency is what the issue is to me.
Do you think there would ever be an opportunity for a regional regulator?
I think there can be, and to Adrian's point, I think this is a very clear and focused way forward. But you need to have a paradigm shift in the persons who are going to manage this, and the citizens need to demand that accountability. Demand that transparency for it to work for the benefit of all.
We are supposed to, by law, know the names and the nationalities of the people who have gotten our passports. Chasney has never, as required by law, every year, every single financial year, he's supposed to come to the house. He tells us whether they're from Asia, from China, or whether they're from Saudi Arabia, or from Dubai. He doesn't tell us the names which is required by law and the nationalities of the people, how many of them, whether it's their family, their children, or just them, their wife, whatever. All of that is supposed to be presented. They're not doing that. They changed the law that requires them to publish the names of those who have been rejected. After the first 3 or 4 were rejected and it had to be published and gazetted, they stopped that. We are not seeing what they tell you. They just padding the accounts. People like Minerva Sword and Norbert, they tell you, there was a water project in Dennery which added $300,000 came from CIP. That is the easiest way to hide money. That's why it's so attractive. It is treated as a cash cow in the sense that it's free money coming and nobody needs to account for it in any meaningful way. We've gone for 5 years. A country that has suffered, a country where people cannot get food to eat, and we cannot see where our CIP money has gone. And that is because in order for Chasney to become a colonial master in a country, they needed to exploit a country with weak civic institutions, as Chris Wiley pointed out. But Cambridge Analytica does not make the lion's share of its money from winning an election. But people like Christian Kalin, involved in the passports, the global passport scheme, involved with Henley and Partners, of which Chasney's personal lawyer, Mark Maraj, is in charge in St. Lucia, have all been involved with Cambridge Analytica. It's one incestuous ring. And these people, in fact, let him tell you that after they win the elections, you have to pick fake projects. You have to come up with some bullshit stuff that you can sign on to. And remember this, because it's going to come into sharp focus as we go along with regard to this show.
The business model of SCL is to capture a government, so win an election. You get paid for that, but you don't make a ton of money. Where you actually make money is then going to the minister and introducing the minister to a company, and then making deals. I remember deals about, there were different companies that were interested in building, new ports or things like that. And in order to get a competitive advantage, if some money goes here, some money goes here, and then you can introduce, the minister, and if the minister then approves the project, then you get a cut of that deal. The company also, so even, for example, when I was there, it wasn't just selling influence from a company to a government. Often they would use fake government projects to also then help support the political aims of the minister.
Fake government projects, roads, bridges, ports. Oh, you mean like how you can have causeway to Maria Island? You have people in Invest St. Lucia getting business, whether it's their vehicles getting rented, or whether it's properties getting rented, or land being bought and sold right next door, family having how many acres of land here that's right next to the DSH land. Oh yeah, DSH. Under what would qualify an architect to sell passports? If you want to sell passports in China, why don't you hire a marketing company in China that specializes in passport sales or whatever? Instead, you take a man that come to deal with horses, where you have to still up to today import grass for the horses to eat in the air-conditioned stalls while people suffering at St. Jude's. And then he has the final say in an escrow account that you as a prime minister willfully establish outside of St. Lucia, and the master developer Tewa King can override it, and he can keep any of the money that is left in the account and all of the other provisions in that. Wow, yes. Now you see what's happening there, folks. Cambridge Analytica, our passports money, the elections, fake government projects. They need to continue the fake government projects and to continue to steal out of our CIP money. They're not here for $1 million or for $300,000 or for $5 million. They're here for tens of millions of dollars. And also because if they trump with the Lima group like what Sarah and others did, right? Then we are in league in a global machine. But you don't have to believe me. You don't have to believe me. Because again, they will block it on Facebook because they don't like when you talk about Cambridge Analytica. But like I said, on nomination day, we got wind down in Dennery and we got wind right at Mandalay Point. They were around. The vultures were around. So we went and we filmed them direct.
What's that?
That's some good shots. This one, hi. How you doing?
I'm good.
Yeah. All is good? I'm part. Yeah. I'm part of Bravo.
You part of it?
Yeah. Now, like I said before, do not tell me that's election observers. The election observers have not landed yet. 1. 2, why would an election observer come and put on a UWP shirt? 3, you heard the guy tell you straight that he's here and part of them, right? And it is, look, Cambridge Analytica works best in anonymity. That's why once they were discovered, the company collapsed and then they all found out under other names. That's why you have the companies like Emma Data, Rebecca Mercer. You have all these people that come here with their private jets. I have to be speaking to reporters all the way in the New York Times and the UK Telegraph just to keep track of these pricks that are coming around. That's how far I have to go. I'm not any journalist, right? Because our democracy is actually a prize for them, just like Trinidad's, just like Dominica, because we were a staging point for a lot of the activities that went on with Linton Lennox and the Lennox Linton and the opposition over in Dominica. Yes, it happened from here. Not just Hillel telling you, I'm telling you. I can give you more details of when the flights were here, who was staying at Harbour Club, who was at the Prime Minister's residence, who had lunch at Auberge Seraphine on a Monday and played that they were here representing the United States Embassy when they were really here representing Cambridge Analytica and the Republican Party. And when I called Timothy Poley on Newspin, the Beaufest man had to come and play cleanup. But that's okay. Because a lot of the people who are even doing the work for Cambridge Analytica, they may not even be conscious of it. The hate speech that is being fomented on Sky FM and GVD TV under Vitus Peters' direct control and empowerment is the same thing that the Republican machine has been doing in the United States that causes people to try and bomb buildings and try to kill people and assassinate and plow their vehicles. That's exactly what's going on right here. And a lot of these people, their own mentality, their mental weakness is being exploited. Their own insecurities is being pimped out. Whether they are conscious, I don't expect Cambridge Analytica to bring Dubois and Champagne and Herod Marius and all of them there and Norbert to tell them all what the plans are. It matriculates. But in the same way, they're going to try and come with Operation Vegleo for the rest of this week. Come with some big story last time about bananas to France. Right? And then come and tell you, oh, somebody in the Labour Party did this and somebody in the Labour Party. That's what they're going to come with. And how do you know? Because they're already trying to use exactly that same colonialism thing that Chasney talks about, that Chasney was raised to extol. And remember, Cambridge Analytica promises you can be a colonial master in a country with weak civic institutions. So guard your mind.
Il a mis 8 mois. Madou a dit c'est un ciel il peut pas bien fort. Il a toujours so Soisey c'est une des plus belles côtés en cette ici c'est Soisey. Et nous ni un monsieur qui a représenté Soisey, il y a une longue natte, je connais lui. Il y a une longue natte. Comment on dit ça? Aïe, 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 monsieur, bah, il a belle Soisey. Bon, nous n'y sommes vieux nègres, et moi, je suis vieux nègres. Yo ni 17 constituency Saint-Lucie. Zot ka voye 15 nom pour accommoder vieux nègres Constitution King, vieux nègres comme Richard Frederick. C'est moun qui a vote by zot là. Zot ka forcer ces moun vote by des vieux nègres.
20 minutes later.
But I want to tell Choiseul Solibus tonight, it takes a white man to pick up St. Lucia from grounds.
And we in 2021 now. And we in 2021 now.
We can win this war. Get vaccinated. We're taking our life back. Get vaccinated.
The COVID-19 vaccination drive is mobile and coming to you. There you can get the vaccine. It will protect you from developing severe outcomes of COVID-19 and make you less likely to spread the virus to others. It will also help you get your life back. Most of all, you will be doing your part to help St. Lucia bounce back from this pandemic. Visit the Ministry of Health and Wellness and Bureau of Health Education Facebook pages for the mobile vaccine schedule, and let's take our life back.
Get vaccinated.
This message is brought to you by the Bureau of Health Education of the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Hey, yours truly from the beautiful island of St. Lucia, St. John. And I am rocking with UTV. You are my criminal. Ah.
The last project that requires you to dream is DSH. Mr. Tea King is not going to be investing all of the money for all the projects. But when I heard and I did my own background checks on Mr. Atea King, and I found out what he has done in his life, I asked him, I said, Teo, will you help us? He said, what do you want, Alan? I said, I want you to put together a master plan for the whole of Vieux Fort. The Labour Party will have you believe that I have given all the lands to Mr. Atea King. He would have you believe that we give him the stadium. We gave him those things to help us develop those things. We gave him those things to help us develop those things.
Move to a project known to St. Lucians as DSH. Or every time I hear it, I call it I call it Delivering Southern Hope. Everybody has been overwhelmingly surprised at the caliber of the young people in the South and how trainable everybody has become.
When people say I am from Vieux Fort, soon people will not know Vieux Fort. You are from the Pearl of the Caribbean.
The first phase of the Desert Star Holdings DSH investment project in Vieux Fort is coming to fruition with accompanying opportunities for St. Lucians. The newly built horse racing track on December 13, 2019 will welcome the Peter Cup.
That when people say I am from Vieux Fort, soon people will not know Vieux Fort. You are from the Pearl of the Caribbean.
The National Apprenticeship Program has facilitated the training and certification of more than 20 persons.
It will employ hundreds of people and blah, blah, blah. When the horse racing track begins, young people from everywhere will be employed.
About jobs.
How do you know that,
From DSH. Of course I know that.
To employ, I'm hoping close to over 1,000 young persons.
No, we're looking at over 1,500 jobs.
Chinese workers in a free country.
We have been in discussions with construction companies from China. Mr. Aking is looking at the possibility of using Chinese construction companies for his development, but not phase one. phase 1, which is the race course, is being done through local contractors.
I want to bring Chinese down. Chinese? What's going on here? What's going on here?
And I know of the love and the passion that the people in the South have. And I know how great they are going to be at taking care of horses.
24 individuals have successfully completed an entry-level training course in the grooming of racehorses. The training was facilitated by Groom Elite Program Inc. out of Stanford, Kentucky, through the National Apprenticeship Program.
Will then be reimbursed through the CIP program, of which they're responsible for marketing the CIP program. Once the track is paid for, we will then take back ownership of the land, so no longer will there be a lease, and once we take back the land, we will then enter into a management contract with China Horse Club to be able to manage and operate the track facility.
And we cannot be afraid to embrace the development, because without it, there is no hope for our people.
You were part of the training.
Yeah, I did it. I got the certificate, but they never called us to work. They only had 3 of them working there.
And how long that certificate took and everything like that?
3 weeks.
And I mean, how are you feeling now? Because
well, I see that was a waste of my time, because I was working. I left my job to go and take part of that because they say we'd get work, and after nothing.
So that's a disappointment to you, the whole thing?
It is.
And for a lot of fishermen, horsemen too, because a lot of them put
all the effort into it and nothing, no result out of it.
If you could speak to the people in charge of that, what would you say to them now?
Well, try and get us in, because all of us have different things to do, and all of us like horses. That's why we took part, and nothing else going on.
And I mean, how do you feel if people say, you know, they told you so and that kind of thing? You feel like you've heard anybody say anything like that to you before?
Yeah.
And
one of my friends, I think he's the best, I think, in horses here. Lucius, he told me like that's just a waste of our time, and I think I wanted the experience to go to see if I can go somewhere else to become somebody in that, and nothing happened.
And I later found out that Alan Cessna is not a horse enthusiast. He's not.
Anybody who's anybody will remember Russell Lake was touting this thing.
Ladies and gentlemen, here's the last horse coming up into the starting gate. Sweetwater, Texas goes in. This is it. St. Lucia and the world, are you ready? They're in the gate. And we're off at the Pearl of the Caribbean.
Horse is a horse, of course, and no one can talk to a horse, of course, that is, of course, unless the horse is the famous Mr. A.
Local horse racing enthusiasts have been questioning whether St. Lucian jockeys will put on their own race on December 13th as promised. The Royal St. Lucia Turf Club says no.
It's not going to take place.
Regarding horse racing in St. Lucia, yes, I've been talking about it.
The Flobo supporters, even in their hearts, you know that this horse racing thing will fail. They still support it. They still support it. That's how I'm fused. They hold on to anything the Prime Minister will say, even if they know it's not true.
I want answers. The Prime Minister calls. I notice. I want answers. Hey, Andre, connections.
The racehorse track is not going to make money. In fact, the racehorse track will lose money. It's like a golf course.
People who oppose, when the reality hits you that this is going to become an economic powerhouse down there.
The racehorse track is not going to make money.
Many people talking about gambling and this and that.
You are the epitome of what is called a horse's ass.
I want to become a little more familiar with these horses, you know. I don't put my money in fire.
Let's rally around this.
The Royal St. Lucia Turf Club held the second horse racing event at the DSH grounds in Vieux-Fort since the inaugural National Day celebration on December 13, 2019. Unlike the National Day opener, the Independence Day themed February 16, 2020 activity was more subdued.
If they had 150 people, they were a lot. But you know what I don't like, folks? I don't like the hypocrisy of some of the hacks.
Since when I became the spokesperson,
The horse racing track is not a business that's going to make money.
Whilst Bowtie Man was busy giving away tickets on his show, tickets for the horse race that St. Lucians did not even want. Because the race was poorly attended, although Bowtie Man is giving tickets, Charlie will turn around and say on Out Goes In with Andre and Russell that the race was poorly attended because it was not meant for locals.
and because USC were saying it was a failure, because behind the scenes, how much
this race wasn't
going on?
This race wasn't for locals, really, to see. It was for the overseas people.
You have on your calendar of events for independence, you have that horse race slated.
The people of the country are being enlightened about everything to do with horse racing. But because at this juncture it appears that you all feel I am making the people be educated about something that you don't want them to know about. You want to just feed them all kind of stuff. What 7,000 jets and how many jets and papi show nonsense. You know how many, Andrew, there were so many private jets parked on the tarmac at you know. More than 24, I think, private jets.
Wow.
There were private jets parked
More
there.
than 24.
Right.
That's bullshit, that's bullshit. Eu passava no hospital, veio acabando com a chuva.
Say it with pride. I love
Alan Schass.
Yeah.
So I came here to see that the government of St. Lucia failed. And when I reached here, I realized this is the best thing that can ever happen to St. Lucia.
And here we are. They don't want to talk about it. When they do, it's a passer. Because this is not only a huge failure, but sadly, folks, if you think we are out of the woods with DSH, I'm telling you, it is all tied to Cambridge Analytica. It is all tied to CIP. It is all tied to this government, and I'm going to show you. And the worst part is, people like the Chamber of Comatose sat there with all of these financial minds, our local business fraternity, and they never called out the horse shit for what it was. Pure horse shit.
Is this whole issue of St. Lucia's love affair with grand projects. If you're not delivering a grand project, you're not running the country right. Why is that so, Senator Auger?
I'm not sure that our people are particularly enamored of large projects because there have been a lot of them, these grand dreams that have not actually materialized. And certainly they have not materialized in the time frames anticipated because government's implementation capacity is woefully overstated in most budgets that including this one. And even the over 7% of GDP financing gap in this budget is an issue that we ought to talk about because it clearly suggests that there is more that will not get done and which will not get financed. But back to the projects, I don't know that there is anything particularly visionary about the Pearl of the Caribbean project. I think that it is very imitative. I think it's a reproduction or an attempt at a reproduction of a large Dubai project. And I think also that in some imaginations it was to do for View Fort, which of course would have been a political statement as well, would have been to do for View Fort what John Compton did for Groseley. I think that is what people were reaching for. And in the way that the Rodney Bay development transformed the Sleepy Fishing Village into the center of the St. Lucia tourism product, there was, I believe, in some imaginations, the beginning of that copying it and transferring it down to Viewfort. What we fail to do in our quest for these projects and our big dreams is to consult the people who live in those places and who are going to be affected and ask them whether or not this is what they envisage. There's a wonderful story of a village, I think it's in Costa Rica, who were offered tourism investment, and they got together, the citizens, and they said, well, what exactly is this going to do for us? And the authority said, well, look down the road at your neighbor community. Look at the wonderful things it has done for them. And when the village looked down the road at their neighbor community, they said, you know what, no thanks, we'll stay as we are, because we're seeing more evils arising out of that particular brand of development than we want for our community. We own our land, we enjoy our environment, we support our families. We may not have bank accounts in the Cayman Islands or the Bahamas, but you know what, we have a decent standard of living that is sustainable in the environment that we have known for generations, and they opted not to go for that brand of tourism. We, I think, have never done that, subject to correction. And let us also remember that if Rodney Bay, Gros Islet Rodney Bay is the example, that there were huge environmental costs to that development, which were generally swept under the table. But look at the village of Gros Islet today and ask yourself whether that is whether that's an ideal outcome, and whether a village with $1,000 a night hotel rooms all around it should be looking the way that Gros Islet is looking today. And what are the people in Gros Islet selling in the wee hours of the night and the morning? It's not altogether savory. So where has that mammoth development placed the people of Gros Islet, the everyday people on Church Street? Where has it left them? And I would say not very much further from where they are.
Back in the 2017-2018 budget, we were definitely exposed to a lot of grandiose ideas. We were told about the Desert Star Holding project, $2.7 billion worth of investment. I think about 7 new hotels were promised as well during that period. This is 2017, so we're now on to the 5th and final budget. And interestingly enough, there's no mention of all those grandiose plans. Do you think that because they just simply did not materialize really over that period, and maybe there is some form of a realization, or is it shame? I'm trying to understand why is it that we weren't hearing about these grand plans about hotels?
They've evaporated. You know, it's you can con people long enough. This Pearl of the Caribbean, this concept, when I first heard it, and I heard people discussing of all this money and the connection, and you're going to connect Maria Island, etc. And the monies that were spent, we weren't in a crisis mode yet, but it was the wrong focus. It was the wrong focus for the South. It was the wrong focus for the economy.
But some people said they loved it. I mean, this was Viewfort needed the investment.
The problem
they needed something to
this blind loyalty that we have, and now party is in power. So if we have a ladder that can take us to the moon, we all cheering and waving the flag of the color of the party. It's dangerous. We are not focused. There's not wide island consultation on our priority, on what is needed for the economy. How do we nurture entrepreneurs? How do we invest in the creative industries? How do we broaden the linkages in the marine industry? How do we develop marine parks? Or, what's the discussion on crown lands, the land bank? How do we discuss in a mature way access to waterfront by all? We don't do that. Instead, we cling on to certain projects, we try to sell a con, and reality creeps in and we can't deliver, and they just evaporate. But the money has been spent. The promises have been made.
Do you think that, in terms of what Cuthbert is saying, that you can just put that down, this love affair that we have with these grandiose plans, to partisan affections? Or do you think that there's something about the St. Lucian psyche that has told us that you've got to come with some grand plan, some $1 billion plan, and you know, people will only then will they think that you're serious about development. Is that how we
Well, I think
figure
it's a
development
mixture of a
is?
lot of things, and I'll let my other colleagues. But I'll say one thing: I was very disappointed that the Chamber of Commerce didn't call a spade a spade. I mean, come on! If it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's a duck. And for the Chamber of Commerce to have sat there and very reliable persons in their field to come on television and stroke this myth that somebody was going to connect Maria Island and we were going to have a Dubai in the south. And
23 islands as well.
Yeah, and it was no longer going to be called Vieux-Fort. And when somebody asks you, where you from, you're going to say, you know, I'm from the Pearl Caribbean, and you say it in Mandarin.
Say it in pride.
And for reasonable, educated people within the Chamber of Commerce to allow this rhetoric to continue, I mean, these are the results.
Could I just jump in there since you're on the pool of the Caribbean?
Okay, well, I don't know if Adrian doesn't mind. You can hold your thoughts a little bit longer, Adrian.
Yes.
Shock Carlton, go ahead.
You know, this pool of the Caribbean thing is very upsetting. We're supposed to be a nation of intelligent people. And if you read the DSH agreement, if you look at Theo Atkins' history, he never puts in any of his money. And the whole DSH was dependent upon our CIP. People are not aware of that. But the CIP Act was changed to accommodate DSH. So that as long as we were able to sell the passports and give Theo King that money, we may have had a project. But if you look at the performance of our CIP, we've not been able to sell as many passports. For example, over the last 5 years, Dominica raised over $1 billion from the CIP. We are barely scratching about 130 million. So people should have read the DSH agreement. For one, it says the stat, Theo Atkins' share is only 10%. And I think that's kind of critical because by international standards, you considered a direct investor if you have 10% or more. But wherever he goes, he's a developer. And he refers to himself in the project as a developer. Yet some of us want to refer to him as so he never intended to put in his own money. And my biggest objection is that horse racing can never transform an economy like ours. We would have created, even if it was successful, we would have created a playground for the rich and famous, and in keeping it the new St. Lucia, we would have the haves and the have-nots.
And just think about it. A billionaire comes here for horse racing, but if they burst their toe, they have to go into a stadium. Just think about it. Just think about it. Chasney told you that phase 1 and 2 were 15-year projects. So Chasney is telling you that he is putting all of his effort into a project that by the time it's done, he would be 80 and Theo Atkins would be 83, and that's just phase 1 and 2. You couldn't see the racket? If it was so good, why aren't they boasting about it from all the hilltops? Because it is a money, a slush fund. It is a racket. It's about washing money. It's about extortion and extraction of whatever little kakada that we have while we are being promulgated with foreigners in literally infesting our society. I have no problem with foreigners. My problem is with those that are using these nefarious means to take advantage of our small island. Folks, think about this. Those fancy renderings that you saw there, you know the first thing that should jump out at you? Not one black person. That's not an accident. Second thing, I gave that to an architect and an engineer for them to give me some assessments without either of them knowing. Right? I was told it would take, if you started the work and you had every dollar that you needed to do what Theo Atkins wanted to do, a couple of things. One, it would take 80 years if you have people working 24 hours a day round the clock. Two, it would cost $5 billion US if you did it right now, and that doesn't account for inflation. Three, even if all of it came, we would own none of it because DSH is not a partnership. They are taking our passports money to fund their scheme of which they would own, and later on you'll find out which ministers were silent partners, just like with Ojo Labs and ITEL, BPO, and all these other projects, slush fund projects. Then the worst part about it is the whole of Vieux Fort would sink, because the entirety of Vieux Fort is in a floodplain. And since we had the American Army bases, a series of strategic tunnels for drainage were put. Teoa King said that the concern was developing sinkholes. But the biggest problem is that the barrier reef, which blocks the entire coast of Vieux Fort and diffuses the wave action from coming and washing over Vieux Fort, would be lost because of the construction of the causeway. And the dynamiting that would have to go on, the earth settling that would take 60 years in dynamiting by Anse-Noir's side, would also cost at least $200 million and would still take 60 years before the land would settle and would still leave us more vulnerable to climate change. But you know what? Don't take my word for it. Let's listen to somebody who was in the cabinet as recently as a couple of months ago.
DSH and Chouval before the hospital.
So
the health
DSH,
sector.
that's one project that I had my difficulty with from day one. Yeah. From day one. Moi-même te kwe, nou te ka ale rong chimè pisa. Pis isam, nou te kamete tout zi nou an yon preye. So, I said to the Prime Minister when this happened, in fact, we made a presentation to Cabinet, you took vini, you fait une présentation, moun sorti St. Lucia Board, Tourism Board, Invest St. Lucia, you took vini, ek une présentation te faite, avec, après ça fait fini, moi te ni pour aller à Souchimé avec moi dit Premier Ministre, moi kay quitter, puis moi te dit, moi te kay quitter avant, puis moi te ni un programme qui était ni pour veiller chimé en simple ici. Il m'a dit, est-ce que j'ai pièce bail pour dire? Moi, dit, nous qu'à parler. Puis moi-même, je quoi, présentation a été faite. C'était une présentation qui tenait cabinet avec tout le monde. Après ça, cabinet a tenu pour joindre, faire un meeting pour discuter qui ça y présenté. Le moi, regardé un soir, monsieur Cassier. Okay, the point I'm making is that when you come to cabinet with those proposals, we meet, we discuss. In this case, you had the Board of Tourism, Invest St. Lucia, and a host of other entities, including Chamber of Commerce. Presentation made, the cabinet had not sat to discuss among itself the implications of this project. Okay, what are the benefits? It was signed. Today you had one proposal, you say phase one, the next day you have another proposal. If the public objects, then you see changes in it. One time you've got a causeway going to, is it Maria Island? Next time the public objects, then there's no causeway. And a lot of misinformation. Pearl of the Caribbean, I mean, 28 islands to be developed, etc., etc. So St. Lucia, I guess, eventually will be St. Lucia and the pearls of the Caribbean. You know, so my thing was that, wait, what is really going on here? So at one point, when it was suggested that we're going to sign a second phase or package 2, I said, I'm not attending. I said, I'm not going to participate in this because I believe we need to be more focused on the whole development of Vieux Fort. Because what was being presented to us was really the Dubai of the Caribbean with high-rise buildings and all sorts of things. This wasn't anybody coming with their own money. It was somebody coming with just a dream to do something. And what they were looking for was really to give them the land, then they'll go out and speculate our land, and to get investors to come in and build properties for their own financial gain. That's what was going on. So I refused to attend. The Prime Minister called and I said, no, I'm not attending and whatnot. I don't support the whole thing. And he said, well, you have never supported it. I said, not that I don't support development. What I don't support is the manner in which development is being undertaken. And I remember on that occasion I said to him, let us make good the promise to the people in the South. The promise to the people in the South is housing and economic development that is conducive to the south of the country. So I said, too many administrations have gone after poor people who have built little homes because governments have not been able to keep up with housing demand. They have gone and built homes on Invest Lands, NDC, National Development Corporation lands, now Invest St. Lucia. And administration after administration have gone ahead and demolished those homes. I said, let us go and make available to the people of the South housing lands at concessionary rates so that they can build their homes. We can go for the development with those people. But to just farm out all the land to one developer who has no money whatsoever, okay, I didn't support the idea. And then you had the issue of the racetrack. The racetrack, which really was what the developer had intentions of doing in the first place. But he found an opportunity to be able to grab at land, and he exploited it. The racetrack first was designed not in the orientation that it is now, but then the developer decided that the orientation should be changed, which would mean that the racetrack would run across the existing Larry Susa Road. The Prime Minister came, and the investor, and he said the road needs to be moved. So the road needed to be moved, and the investor would pay for it. But the investor has not paid for the road. The road costs over $13 million. Over $13 million. And it is on the books of the country as a debt that we have to pay, and we are paying for. So we move one road to facilitate one man to set up a racetrack, which has not to date brought any economic activity of significance to the country. Now one may tell me, well, there's a lot of activity happening in Vieux-Fort, this is happening, the airport is happening, etc., etc. Excellent. But the point I'm making is, what is the net value of the racetrack in Vieux-Fort? The gift that was given to us, the abattoir, the meat processing plant, again, that was trivialized in the presentation made by Mr. Tiwakin in the development, when he said, hey, we will knock down the meat processing plant and we'll build a temporary facility. But how can you tell me, you come to my home, you see a golden cup on my shelf, and you say to me, take this golden cup out, and here's a brass cup, and believe that unappreciated. You cannot do that. To date, the gentleman has...
He did.
Well, he did.
So how did he do it?
He did, you know. But to date, he has not settled the government for the meat processing plant, and the government itself has not clearly indicated what it's going to do. Of course, they moved farmers from the site, from Beauséjour to Angers, in that area, thereabout. But the thing about it is, we have allowed individuals to come into our country and dictate and direct the path and pace of development of our country, leaving our people behind.
And in leaving our people behind, the Prime Minister and sadly the rest of the cabinet of what was supposed to be St. Lucians have literally become a prejudicial government who literally will take foreigners who have nothing and give them our assets as if they are somehow superior because they are not from St. Lucia, rather than ever empowering St. Lucians, even if they were only UWPs, to form conglomerates to do any of these things. Renault Gajada, Renault exports to China. Did you ever think in your lifetime that you would have a St. Lucian who exports to China stone crushers and other equipment? Can you believe that? But yet you're telling me that you cannot get... I mean, just think about it. That's just one example. You have people like Parry Husbands Jr. that was at MIT. The man has 4 patents in the United States. There are St. Lucians with great ideas, great minds. We have achieved and excelled when we had less with our Nobel laureates, and yet we have a Tebebe telling us that we're not good, to the point where he's taking all our assets and giving it to these guys. And I'm telling you, I'm happy that others see it how I do.
Alan has always been a spendthrift. Look, we built this horse race track and all this sort of thing going on there. Do you recall years ago Alan had something called Boxing in Paradise?
Yes.
And you know what the whole theme of all of that was? That St. Lucia, in his words, I quote, St. Lucia will be like a mini Vegas. You know, we're going to have these things, and tourists are going to come in, fill the hotels, and do all this sort of things. Getting all excited about this whole thing. It didn't make any sense to anybody who had half a brain. How in the hell is St. Lucia going to become a little Vegas? I mean, I'm not saying it's outside of the realm of possibility that we can improve towards that end, but nobody's flying to St. Lucia for boxing, and nobody's flying to St. Lucia for no horse track.
You're right.
All right? I would have preferred to see a nice little racing track, so all the young guys in Viewfort and all over the island who have an interest in that and doing their cars and so on could have gotten something that I think they would have been able to use and they would have been happy to use.
And it's certainly something that has interest already.
Absolutely, huge interest.
Doing already.
They're doing it on their own. I mean, $10 million, $20 million would have transformed this whole thing for us and people coming from other islands in the Caribbean, and it would have been fantastic. What do? We go and spend $120 million on a racetrack, giving horses air-conditioned stalls.
Correct.
They can't eat grass that we have here. They have to import grass to feed the horses, and all this sort of foolishness. And people are cheering this. This is nonsense. Okay, we didn't have boxing in paradise. It became just another white elephant, so to speak, of an idea.
It just failed.
Because it never had the grounding to fail. Right. You know, you can have Alan in your cabinet, but you've got to be able to ensure that there's somebody above him who can say no. This is not going to work. Because Alan is an ideas man. But he gets 200 ideas a minute and he wants to execute all of them. And if anything goes wrong or there's a problem, throw money at it. It's not working, throw more money at it.
And you see, sadly, that elitist mentality coming from a cavalier, callous man with what is obviously attention deficit disorder, ADD. We are the ones paying for all of his risks. Nobody ever remembered to tell you all, the younger generation, what happened with boxing in paradise? Chasney that did not know Tennyson, even though he called him his friend, calling him Tennyson, bringing Stephenson King into the middle of the ring there, wasting millions of dollars to broadcast on Showtime in the middle of the Midwestern United States, places like New Mexico and Utah. At 3 o'clock in the morning, Nielsen ratings put it at 3,500 people in the entirety of the United States that actually stayed up to watch it live. And none of these were our source markets. Our source markets are New York, New Jersey, Florida, Texas. But yet still, the habit and the passion that he has for wasting our money is costing us and costing our children and even our great-grandchildren to come. The unborn are paying for Chasney's narcissism. But as long as there's somebody with a house slave mentality like Champagne or the rest, as long as there are, he'll continue to push the bullshit. So the fake objective people like Timothy Polio, up to 2019, Chasney was still pushing DSH.
So when I sit here with confidence to tell you I believe that we're going to solve the problem in crime, it's because I know that we're putting the resources and we're getting the cooperation of people. When I say to you that we're going to have a world-class education system, because I see the effort that's going in, I see how hard people are working. When I want to have a world-class healthcare system, I see the effort. And let me say this to you, Tim. People talk about change. Real change only comes when there's pain. Honestly, if in fact you are not changing, then life is comfortable. If you're changing, then people are going to be feeling that pain. And we've gone through the pain for the last 3 years. We're now starting to see more people gain confidence in what the government is doing. There's no better example than the horse racing. Look at how much controversy the horse racing and DSH has caused from day one. From day one. And now, when you go to Viewfort, the sentiment is starting to change. The sentiment is starting to change nationally. And I can tell you, what I saw on Sunday last week for the dress rehearsal, St. Lucians are going to be blown away. Does it mean that horse racing is the priority of my government? No. But horse racing and that event is going to bring international recognition to St. Lucia. It's going to contribute significantly to the economy and the confidence that people have in St. Lucia. It's going to differentiate St. Lucia automatically from everybody else in the world. And we were prepared to go through that pain to be able to introduce a new idea. I'm glad to see many people who are on the other side, who are criticizing the project, now coming on to support the project. And I know come Friday that everybody is going to be convinced that we're heading in the right direction.
Yep, he had one thing right. It has changed the perception of St. Lucia. We have been differentiated. We were once under Sir John and continued under Kenny Anthony to be the lead country in the OECS. Now we are looked at as a bunch of idiots led by a Lapo conman who's bringing in all of his conman friends to continue to extract personal wealth for themselves at our expense, giving away our land, marginalizing our people, and extinguishing any light for us. You know the worst part? You thought he was finished there? That's 2019. What about 2020?
In terms of the DSH, persons may or not know. There are still solutions employed. There are still horses here. Drawings are still being produced in terms of getting that project to its next stage. We are in deep discussions with the cruise industry about having the home port facility in the south, so that's still ongoing, and the need is even greater today than it was before. So I'm encouraged by these developments.
My bad. I said 2020. That's April 2021. That's just 2-3 months ago. And you know why? Because the racket must continue no matter what. The big international leeches, as Alva Baptiste rightly called them, they must get their money at our expense. You still don't understand. From the beginning of this show, I told you to pay careful note. DSH, the Chasney administration, right now, all of the Cambridge Analytica people that are trying to steal the elections, fool people, disenfranchise voters, mess with voters lists, have electoral officers that are all from the UWP, ready to marginalize all of the Labour Party and other opposition delegates or electoral officers and all the rest. All what the Vegley techniques that they passing through the phones, what they faxing you, what they, not fax, texting you, what they are putting out on social media. All of these things are because of greed and money.
The business model of SCL is to capture a government, so win an election. You get paid for that, but you don't make a ton of money. Where you actually make money is then going to the minister and introducing the minister to a company, and then making deals. I remember deals about there were different companies that were interested in building new ports or things like that, and in order to get a competitive advantage, if some money goes here, some money goes here, and then you can introduce the minister, and if the minister then approves the project, then you get a cut of that deal. The company also, so even, for example, when I was there, it wasn't just selling influence from a company to a government. Often they would use fake government projects to also then help support the political aims of the ministers. The business model of SCL is to capture a government, so win an election. You get paid for that, but you don't make a ton of money. Where you actually make money is then going to the minister and introducing the minister to a company, and then making deals. I remember deals about there were different companies that were interested in building new ports or things like that, and in order to get a competitive advantage, if some money goes here, some money goes here, and then you can introduce the minister, and if the minister then approves the project, then you get a cut of that deal. The company also, so even, for example, when I was there, it wasn't just selling influence from a company to a government. Often they would use fake government projects to also then help support the political aims of the ministers.
So, on the ballots, understand what is there. This isn't voting for your mother's or your father's United Workers' Party under Sir John and Louis George or Clendon Mason. No, that's not what's on the ballot there. This is a failed project for the people of St. Lucia, but it continues to extort St. Lucian land and passports and money that should be going to ameliorate the situation of St. Lucia in the middle of a global pandemic. But we can't see a cent because unlike even the other countries in our region, we ain't getting none of it. It is the cash cow. It is the windfall for all. Look at the players involved. Cambridge Analytica, the Republican Party of the United States. Mark Maraj, Henley and Partners, Christian Kalin. Our passports, our sovereignty, and our land being pilfered right under our noses for 5 years, while St. Lucian suffered with poor health care, with crime, while St. Lucian suffered with no unemployment benefits, no stimulus, nothing for the small man, but Ernst & Young can get direct awards and fresh start and this, that, and the other, borrowed money from the IMF to do all kind of election projects. And you don't believe that this will continue with Chasney? Well, don't take my word for it. We're going back to what? Saturday, Sunday, July 17th, 2021.
United Workers' Party has come and has now built a world-class horse racing track in the south. We're in the process of building a new tourism school, and they're going to be building hotels on that area. We're in the process of building a new tourism school, and they're going to be building hotels on that area.
What is he talking about? Oh, y'all didn't know. Head on your racket, folks. And the worst part is, this is already activated. Because Teoa King come here and stew rabbits if he didn't have a rabbit there in terms of Chasney to make sure that he could stew. Right? Put it up for me. Let me see the first page and read it for folks who don't know. Happening now. Homestead Success Inc. launching with a world first announcement. Listen to this, folks. Citizenship by education. In other words, you can come to St. Lucia for school and you get citizenship through Teo Aking and Chasney and DSH. The horse race track can fail, but look at this. Let's go to the next page. With more than 600 participants from across China at the event, and with the weighty support of St. Lucia's Prime Minister and at the 2018 Miss Universe China winner, Homestead Success Incorporated officially launched internationally at the 2020 Global Summit of Exit and Entry Industry and the award ceremony of the annual commendation 1st and 2nd November in Chengdu, China. Homestead Success was invited to announce itself during the opening session of the world-renowned convention. During the presentation to industry leaders and the government officials, Miss Universe China Rosie Zhu Xin, together with Homestead Success representative An Wang, impressed the audience with an intricate introduction of our programs. Let's go to the next. Homestead Success won widespread applause when unveiling a world-first citizenship by education in a highly competitive marketplace. Yes, folks, St. Lucia is now coming out with a new product. You can own part of St. Lucia, get citizenship, and come here through citizenship by education. It is being promoted as a valuable solution for students and families of students looking to capitalize on overseas opportunities. Citizenship by education is exclusively approved by St. Lucia's Citizenship by Investment program and will see successful applicants study at the Alpina St. Lucia School of Tourism and Hospitality in the Caribbean nation. Homestead Success is a uniquely placed to make such an announcement. Leave that page there. You see the Chinese family shown there. So you study, you can bring your family, you get citizenship in St. Lucia. So people like Pinkley Francis, Roderick Cherry, and Invest St. Lucia people like Ryan DeVoe and others are offering citizenship by education, where the tourism industry that Chasney touts will be flooded by people coming from overseas who will get citizenship here, take the few jobs that we have in the tourism industry, take the executive positions and everything else in the tourism industry. They will take over what is supposed to be our #1 industry that Shasney touts, while we have record unemployment and a prime minister who only cares about tourism. Let's go to the next page. Homestead Success Introduction video, which I will play for you. It is an approved promoter of St. Lucia's Citizenship by Investment program. Did you know that, St. Lucia? As well as a strategic partner of the award-winning Pearl of the Caribbean Integrated Development, where St. Lucians are not integrated. The Pearl of the Caribbean is the largest integrated development in the Caribbean and is valued at US $2.6 billion, even though all the money comes from our passport sales, and it's not a partnership according to clause 26 of the DSH agreement, which anybody can go on right now on Google and just type in DSH framework agreement, and you will see at least 3 to 4, the Star, Jody Von Wall and others, and have all put it up on Google. Theo King is an internationally recognized master planner. They don't tell you of his failure, and designer of projects of significance in the Median Grandstand and Racecourse, Dubai's Palm Trilogy, and Putiraya, Malaysia's federal administrative city. He's also the founder and chairman of Asia's premier horse racing facility and lifestyle club, China Horse Club, of which we do not know if any St. Lucians or any St. Lucian politicians are members, because they are very secretive organization. So folks, in 2021, because what I read for you, that's 2020. In 2021, this year, months before elections, March to be exact, Shasney recorded this video for all to see. And the St. Lucians, where they're supposed to be boasting about this if it were good. In fact, you know what? If y'all can translate for me, because a lot of y'all still watching Monkey Face and all of them on the Kung Fu movies that play on Sunday on UTV and on DBS, right? Tell me what you feel about this.
这是一个屡获世界殊荣的国际化集团，承载着过去30年的沉淀与积累，由享誉业界的著名建筑师暨企业家张祖德先生所创立。成家咨询作为集团的一份子，分享了关联公司祖德建筑设计事务所世界一流的专业技术与人才，以御马风尚生活方式、顶级商务社交和纯血速度赛马为一体的 CHC 杰士马主俱乐部的人脉资源，和加勒比海之珠综合发展项目发展商大漠马业加勒比海之星的雄厚实力，这些优质独特的 DNA 都是成家咨询最给力的支持。成家咨询为圣卢西亚投资移民局独家授权的有效合法认证推广单位。无论是加勒比海之珠项目，或是成家咨询，都获得了圣卢西亚政府最大力度的支持。首选圣卢西亚，因为这里能为您提供最符合需求的定制化投资入籍产品。加勒比海之珠这个世界级的开发项目，将为您带来独特的投资机会，助力您的投资价值最大化。圣卢西亚，它无与伦比的天然美丽，国家局势稳定和疫情下彰显出来的公共安全性，都是您不容错过它的理由。圣卢西亚投资入籍可通过多种途径参与，目前成家咨询独家推出的3大产品有：捐赠至国家经济基金，投资被政府认可的房地产项目，如圣卢西亚艾宾纳酒店，和教育入籍项目。由成家咨询独家推出教育入籍项目，全球首发，备受瞩目。您的子女可在圣卢西亚知名酒店管理院校享受国际顶尖教育资源，在安全、舒适的环境居住与学习。手握一本能通往超过146个国家和地区的护照，免签欧洲、申根国、英国及其他国家等世界各地。教育入籍 是您给予下一代最富足的礼物。国际一流教学，一份可预见更多机会、通往美好未来的大礼。多一个身份，多一个选择。您的孩子，无论是在海外学习、工作，或以国际学生身份回国进入名校，都可以轻松实现。这个绝无仅有的圣卢西亚教育入籍项目，只有成家咨询能为您实现。成家咨询旨在为各移民中介及各入申请者提供简单、快捷、高效、放心的一站式服务。我们多年与各大渠道所积累的密切合作关系，奠定了我们能为您提供最符合需求的定制化投资入籍产品。
Hello to each and every one of you here today. It is wonderfully exciting to be a part of the launching of Homestead Success Incorporated. On behalf of all St. Lucians, it is a great privilege to introduce you to our beautiful island nation of St. Lucia. St. Lucians are a proud people with much to be proud of. We are blessed by our freedoms, enjoy a quality of life under sapphire blue skies with clean air and water. We value education and are honored to have 2 Nobel Prize winning laureates. We're one of 2 countries named after a woman. Why we say, let her inspire you. We've improved social programs and have fended off COVID-19 without the loss of any lives so far. We are a safe country with a clear vision of our future. Notwithstanding COVID-19 and the many challenges that it has presented, St. Lucia has taken a bold step in rebranding its Citizenship by Investment program, which embraces the remarkable beauty of our island, but brings to focus St. Lucia Citizenship by Investment program's unique identity of being a world-class, professional international investment program designed both to raise debt-free capital and to attract additional foreign direct investment. We take great pride in inviting you to view our websites at cipstlucia.com. We've extended the definition of the qualifying dependents, extended the payment for the qualifying investment amounts, and this has been a very important amendment given the lockdown and closure of banks across the globe. We've extended the definition of what qualifies to be a government-approved real estate project. The ability to add on qualifying dependents, which also includes the legally adopted dependent. The introduction of a bond, a special COVID-19 bond to be exact, which has a lifetime until December 2020 and is a 5 to 7 year non-interest bearing bond. St. Lucia's Citizenship by Investment program, which is to ensure a lifelong return on investment for our investors. This means that due diligence, governance, and transparency are at the heart of the program. It is this commitment that will guarantee ongoing visa-free access between St. Lucia and many of the other sovereign states. In St. Lucia, we are super excited about the Pearl of the Caribbean, a nation-building project that is truly transformational. Pearl of the Caribbean will upgrade the livelihoods of St. Lucians in so many ways. So an investment through St. Lucia's Citizenship by Investment program, or CIP, into an approved project within the Pearl of the Caribbean is an investment in the future of St. Lucians and in our country. Within the Pearl of the Caribbean is the Alpina St. Lucia Hotel, a CIP-approved real estate project which is anticipated to be a 4-star branded hotel consisting of 250 keys. The hotel will also house a training school catered for the hospitality and tourism sector in collaboration with the Swiss School of Hospitality. I've personally known Theo King for the last 4 years and call him a friend. Theo's commitment to our nation is genuine and honorable. Importantly, through the Pearl of the Caribbean and now through Homestead Success Incorporated, he has provided world-class benefits for your involvement in St. Lucia's CIP. We are a nation on the move with a vibrant and exciting future, with projects like the Pearl of the Caribbean and programs like the World First Citizenship through education. Come and see for yourself the future we are shaping. We hope it is a future that includes many of you. So See you in St. Lucia and let her inspire you.
Phone lines are open right now, 5727-588 and 4847-588. You see, Chasney's future includes foreigners, but it doesn't include you. And Cambridge Analytica is here to get you to believe that this is about voting UWP versus Labour. When in truth, what's on the ballot is whether St. Lucia remains the Helen of the West Indies, which includes you, or whether you become the Pearl of the Caribbean. Helen will change her name to move from being a proud West Indian beauty in turning into a beaten up prostitute under Chasney called Pearl of the Caribbean. And that doesn't include you. It doesn't include you. You'll be marginalized like you'd be annexed in Vieux Fort. Your land is being taken. People can come here on students and end up owning land and having passports, and they already have more capital than you, taking whatever little precious land that we have. The racket continues. So corruption is not just about how much guy take and you got a kakada or you got a little contract through CDP, through Butch, Johannes and all the rest of them. It is about you literally allowing them to marginalize you out of existence in your own country. You are on the ballot. It's even bigger than right or wrong. The existential threat of Chasney is not only real, it is proving itself. But because we are like frogs in boiling water, we don't realize it until it's too late. This is our last chance in the next 5 days. That is our last chance. Now, as you call, we can talk about anything you want to talk about. But I want to make sure, because they don't want you to remember DSH. They don't want you to remember what they've done with St. Jude's. Anybody else, any decent politician, even if they were corrupt and stealing, would have simply said, you know what, 2 administrations didn't deliver on St. Jude's, I'll finish it and I'll get the credit for it. But these guys actually look at that and they say, boy, there's a racket to be had there. There is a racket to be had. So let us go and plunder another $100 million for ourselves. Pay ourselves $26 million for architectural fees. All kinds of shit. St. Lucia is being killed by corruption. COVID wasn't the pandemic. COVID wasn't the disease. The disease is greed. And I'm not pulling facts out of nowhere. Chasney just on Saturday and this weekend is still talking about what's going to happen with DSH, because the people who are here are not here to get $50 or $200 in a t-shirt. Theo Aking, Cambridge Analytica, Henley and Partners and all of these people are looking for hundreds of millions of dollars, and that's our CIP. But I keep telling you all folks, it's about the psychology. I know I've gone over time, but my time is limited, so I want to make sure that you get as much information. Don't take my word for it. Go online, read the framework agreement, ask the questions of Chasney and them. Keep asking them. We have a call. Let's take that call before we round up. Good afternoon,
Christopher.
Good afternoon, sir.
You see, apart from being vigilant and being calm, we also have to be focused. Christopher.
Very true.
They can bring, you see right now, they can bring who they want to bring down. They can try to bend minds. They could try to bend the ball like Cristiano Ronaldo. We have to make up our minds that we are focused in going and do one thing. He calls, we going out in large numbers to cast our votes. Imagine I so focused that no matter what they try to do, no matter if they try to manipulate, they try to deceive, they try to use deception, I am focused. That is one thing I believe that God has blessed me with, a brain to remember. And human beings will never forget the way that you treat them.
Very true.
People could forget a shoe you buy them for Christmas. People could forget you're giving them a $20 bill in their pocket, but they will forget the way that you treat them. And that is what I believe that the average St. Lucian will go into the ballot, will go into the polling station with, that thought of the way that the government treated them, by disrespecting them, by calling them backing dogs, by calling them jackasses. And Christopher, in closing, I'll tell you something. I made a mistake once, and I refer to my good friend by a name that wasn't pleasant at all. But even if the man make up in the friendship, he always reminds me of the name that I called him, that to him he felt disrespected. So that is what we have to go and vote against. That if it's one thing I'm going to vote against Alan Chasney for, is the disrespect. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, caller. We have a caller that's been on hold. Good afternoon, caller. We lost that call, but we'll take one more before we close. Folks, you are not only voting to save your country, you actually are voting to save yourself. And you know the best part? You don't have to go on faith. Chasney has proven what he thinks of you. Which leader will stay there in the middle of a pandemic and a state of emergency that he enacts and go on vacation? Which leader will borrow $350 million more than any of the other islands in his region and then still not give stimulus while all of the other islands have? Not establish an unemployment benefit and tell you the only way that you have a chance of getting one is if you vote for him again and give him another 5 years. We have a call. Good afternoon, caller.
Oui, moi je voulais parler par toi.
Dis-moi.
Moi je voulais parler par Jean-Philippe pour dire ça. Gouvernement a dit comme ça, il y a une place là qui a changé from Pole of the Caribbean. Ça, Jean-Philippe, faut pas ça. Il y a un bail de warning là. Il faut pas qu'il y ait encore. Il faut pas qu'il y ait encore. Il y a ça Chinese là. Il y a une charge. Là, il y a un travail. Qui travaille au joindre? Hein? Pourquoi Chinese là qui va au travail là qui est important? Il y a un travail là, il y a pas vle là. Pas vle ka payer ça, puis ka ba ça tout caca pas faire puis là. Il y a acheter terre bas autres. Puis quand on dit puis là, pas ces autres. Je n'ai pas pile la faire right now là. Là yo vient qui acheter bien fort. Pas ni parce que pour aller. Yo ha pas one in. Ko souval là. Pour toi valer do autre que je n'ai. Pour toi là. Côté. C'est mon simplifiant ouvert les autres. Tout belle propriété qui ni, c'est pas nous qui gagnons, c'est étranger qui a venir en pays autre. Plus là, yo impli valer parce que ça nous. Je crois acheter toute belle propriété, tout côté ka la mer, tout bagage c'est ça yo. Quel style de pas gagner bon nous. De pas ban nous terre dans prix pour ça nous a acheté. Nous pas ça faute li. Vous comprenez? Nous toujours regarder à bas. Vous verrez votre simplifiant. Qui joue gagner bagage qui ça autres, nous pas ni qui ça nous. Tout bagage qui bon en bel à pays ça c'est pas ça nous, c'est ça étranger. Qui joue nous kay ouvert yeux nous. Simplifiant ouvert yeux autres. Ouvert yeux autres. Regardez ça qui cale en pays a ouvert yeux autres. Tout ça qui vaut valeur pays nous, c'est pas ça nous. Nous kay ouvert yeux autres simplifier. Merci.
Merci, Apil. Thank you, caller. The question is, it's simple. Qui ça nous kay fait pour debout ça? It's simple. It's simple. What will you do? You did not rise up and shut down the country. You did not riot. You did not protest. You obeyed the laws even when they were used to show discrimination and preference. You've watched your family and your friends suffer economic and medical hardships just so that Chasney could take care of friends, family, and foreigners. And now you have your chance for you to exercise your democratic right. While you can stay and vote, or you can continue to let them musty pay on us. Now, folks, my time is up, but I wanted to show you something, and I want to thank Riani and the people over at NBC, because I think this is a seminal piece of journalism.
On nomination day, we met with St. Lucians who intend to cast their ballot come July 26, Election Day. we randomly invited supporters of the two main political parties, the ruling United Workers' Party and the St. Lucia Labour Party, to participate in a simple social experiment. Those who agreed were shown this video. A pickup van careening through a crowd of people. Now in the video, which did grab media headlines in recent weeks, the pickup van driver and passengers adorned colors and symbolism associated with the United Workers' Party. The crowd, who scampered out of the vehicle's way, wore Labour Party colors. Each of the participants was shown the same video and asked the same question: who was wrong? Take a listen to the responses from the UWP supporters. Okay, so based on what you just saw, who was in the right and who was in the wrong?
Well, UWP, because the road is for driving.
So UWP was in the right?
Yes.
Well, UWP has right, because I see that people blocking in the way, so that's why I said that.
UWP have right, all the way.
And why do you believe the other people were wrong?
Because they were blocking him and they knew what they were doing. They were up to it.
So who had right and who had wrong in that video?
We had wrong, UWP had right, and SLP had wrong.
Now, here are the responses from the SLP supporters. Who was right and who was wrong?
I feel the van, it have nothing to do with color, but the van with the crowd on the road, the van had to just take it a little easy and proceed.
Well, I think the van saw the crowd. I think they should just slow down and let the crowd move away.
What I'm saying here, if you realize as a driver, there is a crowd of people, you cool down your speed and you be careful when you're traversing the area where you see a lot of people crowd up.
Get it properly, right? And all I want, just be honest with me, tell me, who do you believe was right, who do you believe was wrong?
The van, because I mean, last time people, when you see people in the road, they could at least go a little slower or something, because they could have hurt somebody like that.
I mean, the video says it all, you know. I mean, how can a vehicle see in a crowd from a distance and yet still travel with that kind of speed? There's no way you can travel with that kind of speed.
Generally, the responses were predictably partisan, with most of our respondents siding with their fellow supporters in the video. Now, NBC Prime did reach out to St. Lucia's more reputed clinical psychologists to help us better understand and even explain the contrasting views from the respondents. Two of those clinical psychologists declined out of concern of themselves becoming targets of political victimization. Now, in the absence of willing academic analysis of this NBC Prime social experiment, we referred to a few well-known proverbs and shortlisted the ones we think personified the experiment. So it's a case of either birds of a feather flock together or great minds think alike. So which of these two proverbs you believe personifies our little social experiment?
Now, normally in a closing clip, I don't come back. I let the credits roll. But I thought this piece was so important, and history will, I believe, prove that to be true. A perfect demonstration of cognitive dissonance, how our biases are used, especially in politics, to let us stop or to force us to stop seeing what is clearly right and what is clearly wrong. And what you have to use if you're going into a bar, rum shop, a supermarket, to your home to talk to your family, to a student, to a teacher, brother, sister, a bus driver, it doesn't matter, is we have to use common values to make the point. So how would I try to win the argument? I'd simply say this. If you replaced all of the Labour Party supporters with children, who would be right and who would be wrong? Folks, we'll see you tomorrow, hopefully. Join us on UTV. We go live from Grosley, 11 o'clock with Trisha in the morning, and then the Revolution will be televised as well. Thank you.
The opinions expressed on this TV program by the host, co-host, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions and responsibility of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of UTV or its affiliates.